The South China Sea (SCS) is not just a body of water, it is the world's most critical strategic choke point. Over a third of global maritime trade, carrying an estimated $5 trillion in annual commerce, including vital oil and liquefied natural gas passes through these waters. It is the economic lifeblood of Asia and a non-negotiable strategic artery for the United States Navy. The SCS is the single most likely place where a regional dispute could ignite a global superpower conflict. At the heart of the confrontation is China's illegal, aggressive expansion. Over the last decade, Beijing has built artificial islands and fortified reefs, turning small sandbars into military outposts complete with runways, radar systems, and missile batteries. This militarization is an effort to claim nearly the entire sea as sovereign Chinese territory, directly challenging the freedom of navigation doctrine upheld by the US and its allies. This creates a terrifying red zone scenario where the US and its treaty allies, particularly the Philippines, are constantly pushed to the breaking point. China uses aggressive tactics, not warships, but its maritime militia, an armada of fishing vessels operating under state control, to harass and intimidate foreign vessels. This gray zone warfare is designed to slowly erode the sovereignty of its neighbors without crossing the legal threshold for war, making any US response an immediate, full-scale military decision. The question for Washington is not if there will be a clash, but when a Chinese gray zone vessel pushes too far against a US or allied naval patrol, forcing America to honor its commitment to a treaty that could drag it into a conflict with a nuclear power. The inevitable clash occurs not with a sophisticated warship, but with a small, unassuming patrol vessel, a Philippine Coast Guard cutter, operating well within its own internationally recognized exclusive economic zone, EEZ, a Chinese maritime militia vessel, operating with no visible military markings but under direct command from Beijing, initiates an aggressive ramming maneuver. The damage is severe, leading to casualties among the Philippine crew. The incident instantly rockets to the highest levels of global crisis. The Philippines immediately invokes the Mutual Defense Treaty with the United States. President Biden is faced with the ultimate choice: honor a treaty obligation that demands immediate military response against China, or risk geopolitical humiliation and the total collapse of US credibility in Asia. The Pentagon activates its contingency plans. US aircraft, carriers and destroyers are put on high alert. The scenario is the ultimate red zone trap. China used an untraceable militia vessel to provoke the conflict, making it ambiguous enough to avoid immediate, full-scale US retaliation, yet direct enough to force a commitment. If the US fails to respond, China solidifies its SCS claims, and every US ally in the region from Japan to South Korea instantly begins to doubt American resolve. If the US retaliates, even with a limited naval engagement, it risks triggering an unstoppable escalation. The world watches, knowing that a local maritime incident could plunge the global economy into chaos and ignite a regional war between superpowers. The geopolitical consequences of the SCS collision, even if contained without a full-scale war, are immediate and devastating. If the conflict escalates, the South China Sea is shut down, either through direct combat or through fear of war. The closure of this strategic waterway triggers a global economic collapse. Over $5 trillion in annual trade, including two-thirds of the world's oil and LNG shipments, is instantly paralyzed. Global supply chains, already fragile from previous crises, seize up entirely. Consumer electronics, vital components, and energy costs skyrocket, plunging the global economy into a severe recession. China achieves a strategic victory by simply creating chaos and denial of access. The long-term consequence is the permanent division of Asia. The US is forced to increase its military presence in the region permanently, draining resources and heightening global military tensions. The final lesson of the South China Sea time bomb is that the true price of geopolitical complacency is the surrender of essential resources and strategic access. The US is forced to accept that the defense of its global interests requires a willingness to fight in the most dangerous choke point on Earth.